Marketing gets attention, but operators get paid. Welcome to the Restoration Rundown podcast, built for restoration contractors who want to build serious companies, not just stay busy. My name is Ben Riccardi, the founder of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and we work exclusively in the restoration industry. And everything we talk about here comes from real companies, real conversation, real data, and real revenue conversations. Now, this show is about leadership, operations, digital marketing, and all the gaps that are quietly costing you money, because busy doesn't equal profitable. And one of the biggest revenue leaks that I see across this industry right now is response time. Marketing can get the phone to ring, but if you don't control the conversation fast, you don't control the job. That's why we partnered with Live Switch. Live Switch allows homeowners to connect live, show the damage in real time, and help restoration contractors win jobs while that urgency is still high. Now, if you want to pressure test your response time and your close rate, there's a link in the show notes that gets you a one-on-one with their CEO, James Hatfield, to see how Live Switch can change the game for your business. Now, let's get into it.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, or you're streaming this audio on any one of the streaming services out there. We thank you. Love the fact that we're able to sit here and talk shop a little bit. Now, today's episode is something I've been looking forward to for quite a while, because the last time my buddy Doug Weatherman was on this show, he ended the conversation by just telling us something was coming. He left us on quite a bit of a cliffhanger, which added to the excitement, right? So we want to do that, I guess, in media is what they tell me. And he called it JSTFYD, a tool that is built to give restoration contractors an actual weapon against the AI-driven claims systems that you're seeing more and more every day. Now, today, the product is finally here, and it's called JSTFYD. Now, back with us is Doug Weatherman, the COO of Rare Restoration, who's been at the forefront, if you've been paying attention, of bringing AI into how restoration companies operate. Doug, I'm bringing you on here. We've also got Carlos Ramirez and Max Pena of JSTFYD. Carlos is a creator of JSTFYD and spent over a decade in restoration, including time in deployed to different hurricanes around. So he really knows the game, been in this industry for quite a while. Max handles a lot of marketing communications. Max and I are going to get along quite well with the marketing expertise, guys. But before we get too much into it, I'm going to let you guys talk about your background. I want to get into what you built and what it actually does for you guys. So I want to welcome you guys on the show there today. Doug, welcome back, buddy. It's about time you get this thing rolling, right?
Yeah, man. Happy to be here, brother. It's nice to be back. Really excited to tell you guys about JSTFYD today. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, Doug, Carlos, Max, thank you guys too. Before I get into you guys real quick, I gotta touch base with Doug, because he, like I said before, he did leave us on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Doug, you told the crowd here that JSTFYD was coming. Walk me through the moment. What are you guys actually building towards?
JSTFYD is the world's first claims management system for restorers. It's built by restoration guys for restoration companies. We put heart and soul into the development of this whole entire company. It's built to solve a specific problem that only our industry has, and it's a one-of-a-kind, first-of-its-kind type of product for our industry.
It's super exciting. I got a chance to peek under the hood a little bit. Check out the website, which I'm going to show. If you're listening to this, check out the YouTube, and then we'll have the website URL in the show notes. It's JSTFYD.com. It's JSTFYD, I believe, without the nouns, it looks like. But Carlos, Max, for anybody that doesn't know you, meeting you guys or introducing you for the first time, you want to guys give me a quick version of kind of how you got here?
Go ahead, Max. So my name is Max Pena. I've been in marketing now for almost 15 years. And I met Carlos almost 5 years ago now, when he was starting Pure Restore here in Denver. And so I was one of the first hires he made for his company. And it was my first time ever working in restoration. I was in plumbing before this. And to see that company grow to over 20 full-time people in just a few years was really exciting. And I could tell working with Carlos that he always had bigger ideas for the industry, and it seems like there are just a lot of gaps, especially when it comes to the technology side of restoration. we have a lot of things going on the field tech software and all that, but it seemed like the home team, when it came to collecting, there was a lot of opportunity there. And so I'm excited for Carlos to tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my name is Carlos Ramirez. I'm the owner of Pure Restore, Paragon Environmental currently. I've built and sold 3 other asbestos restoration companies in the past here in the Denver area. Yeah, so really what Justified is bottlenecks within my company. They're solutions to bottlenecks within my own company. So at the end of the day, what I do is I solve problems in my restoration company, my abatement company, and I built, well, when I say I built a software for this, really I didn't. I had engineers do this, but I worked with some engineers to help with my bottlenecks within my own restoration company.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Carlos and Max. And listen, it's great to meet you guys. Doug's been talking about this for quite a while. I think, since like February, we've been going back and forth about all this. And Carlos, from your end, being in the trenches like Doug is, what are you identifying as some of those bottleneck and those problems right now?
Yeah, so right now, I'll just tell you a little bit about what Justified does. It has 4 features. The first feature is going to be much like your ChatGPT, right? I know a lot of restorers are using, whether it be Claude, ChatGPT. We started out with Gemini. That's how this system really started. But those systems tend to hallucinate. Our system is specifically for restoration, right? So within Justified, we have similar to ChatGPT. You can ask it questions. It knows rules, regulations, standards, codes in your area. It's really good for training employees. So that was a bottleneck within my company, is my technicians out in the field. They would always call my operations manager, general manager, ask a bunch of questions. Well, this system will answer those questions better and faster than I could, or even my operations manager. The second feature is going to be a final review. It'll suggest line items or scope of work that you may have missed in case you're leaving money on the table, right? Increasing your revenue. The third thing that it does, the main thing that it does, what we built everything else around, is it combats delay, deny, defend, right? Because that was one of our biggest issues, just the time that it took for, responding to adjusters. Yeah. I mean, it happens to all restorers. We get some email responses sometimes that are 60, 70, they say questions, but really they're not. They're more demands, right? And this system will it'll sift through all of your field documentation, moisture mapping, photos, so on and so forth, codes, regulations, and standards in your areas, and it composes responses to these adjusters. And then the fourth thing that it does is it has a comparative feature. So you no longer have to sift through both, estimates or invoices and try to figure out where they're beating you up at. Our system will automatically do that within 5 to 7 minutes.
It sounds awesome. And I want to backtrack just a little bit. Let's call back to the episode Doug was on. Are we training the machines that are going to beat us? Doug, and you mentioned in that last episode that, the clean machine readable documentation is the new battleground. Is that something that this is, and I guess I'm going to answer the question myself, but talk to me about a little bit about that and how Justified's built to close that gap.
No problem. Yeah, there's definitely, that is the new battleground. The clean machine readable file is going to be the smooth, easy claims process moving forward as systems like Elysian and ClaimCenter evolve. This system is designed specifically to close those types of gaps and create machine readable exportation that can easily go into their systems, be analyzed by their systems, and then there's everything that we have in our comparative tools and everything else is backed up by commonly used standards and things that are just used in restoration day in and day out. So it's very simple to get these kinds of files to be put into the machine readable section. When we were speaking last time, we were still just in beta. We had testers and things like that. We were in a beta platform now. Justified's live now. Now it's a real running system. It's out there for the world now. And it is producing files that are combating with machines like Elysian and ClaimCenter.
All right. I mean, you also talked a lot about Elysian ClaimCenter, what was going on there. And Carlos, since you're in the trenches too, does that kind of match, what you were seeing in the field here with these AI claims kind of taking over and just running you through the ringer when you were trying to get paid?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we got these emails back from these adjusters, you can tell when they're AI.
Mm.
I mean, you can tell.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're just dropping your information into their system and essentially saying, hey, minimize this. And the only real way to minimize a price is to minimize the scope and taking a category 2 down to a category 1. And, us having to answer those questions the old fashioned way was literally taking my company 3 full-time positions. We were doing 65 jobs a month. It was 3 full-time positions. And it was really taking a lot of energy from my general manager because he's highly experienced. He's the most experienced within my company other than myself. So, very costly time.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. You think about the number implication, the cost, the payroll implications of that, your burden, your overhead, your burden. We're having 3 people have to sit there and argue with a machine that is built to argue. And as you're arguing, it's learning, as what Doug said in that last episode. And we're literally training these things how to argue better. I see it like almost in my construction business, every single time there's an issue on a job site and there's contract related, dude, we're getting these ridiculous emails that are structured to the point where like, man, I know you ran that through Claude or you ran it through ChatGPT and it took you 4 seconds, but until we really caught on, recently we're not dealing with it that way. But I mean, it was taking a lot of time because you want to make sure you're answering it properly. They're talking about contract language, and that's like a really small piece of what you guys are really solving, in my opinion. I mean, I can take that email, throw it right into an AI and come up with give it some context and come up with a really nice response. And then, you just get another response right back that is run your email through their system and it's just answering your stuff. And half the time, like you said before, you said the word hallucinating. It's what it seems like they're doing most of the time. And it looks like most of these guys, these GCs aren't even looking at this stuff. The same thing when it comes to getting paid on certain city contracts and stuff like that. We're seeing it more and more and more. Totally different industry, very similar ways we get paid. So I love tools like this. I thought it was great when Doug was talking about, he had set up a system. I think it was like the 2 episodes ago when Doug had something running that its job was literally just to sit there and argue back and forth with the claims, the AI claims. I thought that was awesome. But
that was the GPT that I made too. That would sit there and just argue with adjusters back and forth. This is one thing that's very important though to distinguish is that language models are very good. They're very smart. They're very well, they're very well educated. Our language model is only educated at restoration. It won't be, it can't tell you the score of the Dodger game, but it can tell you every single thing that tenured master restorers have learned in their entire careers. There's so many different things that make that a very powerful tool for this industry.
And it's like you said before too, it's only going to get crazier and crazier and harder and harder. So let's talk about Justified specifically. I want to get into the nitty gritty with it. I want, you guys walk me through what happens through the system to bridge the gap, get paid in full, which I think, to me, being in the trenches on my side, like that's a huge deal. We're financing these projects in most cases for materials, financing, you're rolling that payroll over, which, depending on the size of your company is substantial. So walk me through, let's just start off talking about estimating and Justified. What is your system? What is Justified really actually checking for?
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you mentioned one thing, right, is collecting. And I'll touch on that here shortly. So Justified is not an estimating software. So we don't want anybody to be confused as far as, hey, what this is. It is not an estimating software, and it's not a CRM. We're not here to compete against the Albies and the, Encircles and all those guys, okay? We're here to be a bolt-on to your current process. And the reason we built it that way is because me as a restorer, I've owned multiple companies. It is literally a nightmare to go from one CRM to the next. I lose employees, people get frustrated, so on and so forth. So what this system does, the final review is you can put whether it's your Xactimate, Symbility, we even have an estimating software that I created back in 2018, right? Specifically for my company. You can drop that into. And what it does, it'll suggest line items and or scope of work that you may have missed. And what we found that on average for my company, and my company has a process to where there has to be two sets of eyes on the estimate or invoice before it's sent out. We're finding anywhere from $800 to $3,000 in missing scope of work or line items, whether it be a code, a standard, or a regulation, or really just underscoped in general. So that's how you can make more money with Justified is, you're leaving money on the table. And the disconnect is not, your estimators are not doing the work. You have your field technicians doing the work, right? And they're capturing all the information within your system, in Circle or whatever it should be. And your estimator is gathering all the information and composing your invoice on the back end, right? Well, sometimes there's a miscommunication. Your estimator will not see that they had the AFD there for 5 days and not 2, right? So that's where the disconnect is, and that's where you're losing money, is really, between the field and your estimators. So this is just a second pair of eyes that it'll catch absolutely everything.
Yeah, I think it's super important. I mean, I think with most of these, your 3 weapons, you call them, at the end of the day, you're optimizing your time, you're optimizing your operations, your business, and time is money, right? Hours that are spent arguing, hours that are spent comparing estimates, trying to justify, right? How to get paid here. Talk to me about, because you're obviously using this in your restoration business, Doug. I'm sure you've got this going on right now. Put some numbers to this real quick on how, this is really what the real impact of this has been. Let's, talk. You can separate claims process, or we can lump this all together on this whole tool for all 3 weapons.
It's not just all the things that Carlos mentioned either. I mean, even repetition, human error in repetition. You can have an estimator that writes 20 estimates a day. Human error is that somebody called them right in the middle of doing one line item, and now they forgot that one line item, right? In this industry, our pricing model doesn't provide for you to have this huge profit margin. Any point matters, right? So anything including human error is also covered by having this kind of automated system check over your estimates. You no longer need 2 sets of eyes, which was currently the standard at Rare Restoration too, before we started with Justified too. Before Justified became a real product, we were doing the same thing. 2 people had to look at the estimate to make sure that neither one missed anything. Both of those people are highly paid, highly qualified individuals whose time doesn't necessarily align for them to be in the same place. So there has to be emails back and forth and everything else. Now there's a system that we use that does all of it automatically. My favorite thing with Justified, my favorite feature of Justified is the comparative tool. We're in a market that's very, let's call it competitive. And due to that, there's been a wide variance of estimating ability in this market for such a long time that there's been a weird standard created now for us. Some line items now all of a sudden are just deemed as not worthy to be payable in my market. I find myself justifying the use of line items even per the definition sometimes when I have to deploy them, right? So I get a comparative tool back that won't have something that I would require to do a particular job. Let's say a reconstruction, for instance. They don't want to give me the extra texture so that I can, properly blend in the texture patch on the drywall, right, before we're going to paint the whole wall. So rather than typing that out for the 5,000th time in my life, now I've got a thing that types it out for me, and the system can even email the adjuster for me too. I don't have to do any of this stuff anymore. No more wasting the most valuable resource that all of us have, which is our time. If someone 5 years ago came into this industry and said, "Hey, I've got something that saves you time and makes you money," you wouldn't have believed it. But now technology is making these types of things real. And then we have a thing that saves you time and makes you more money. It's a real thing. It's live out there. We're calling it Justified. It's a very easy software to bolt on to your workflow, period. There's no matter how you do restoration, and Carlos made this point earlier too, this is not built for his restoration company or for my restoration company or for Tom or John or anyone else's restoration company. It's built for restoration, period. It's built for the workflow that we all, in fact, have to do. And however you approach that workflow, Justified is the tool that makes it nice and easy for you to get all through the claim. It helps you manage the entire claim from intake to output, and it's done in the rearview mirror after Justified's done, without as much human touch, without as much human interaction. The way things look now are a lot cleaner. If you're used to your restoration company looking like employees running around with their heads on fire and everybody's all mad at adjusters and yelling at this, it takes away all that emotional stuff. You don't have to be emotionally attached to each individual claim anymore. This damn adjuster won't give me whatever it is. You know what I mean? You can just move right on and go straight in. And this is the exact reason why we are correct in our estimate. And this is our justification package, and you don't have to make it anymore. You don't have to do it. It can pull your any input that you have, or any of your moisture documentation to justify your moisture jobs. It can take all that data in and use that data to give its reasoning for the reason why your number is what it is and the comparison is what it is, right? That's been my favorite thing. The emails and the final review, these are all icing on the cake features for us too. You know, there's a lot of stuff coming and things, but the comparative tool that has really helped us raise the bar as a company in how we justify what we're doing day to day.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, you know, just to call back, Doug, you said a lot there, and it's awesome because everything I'm keep running back into as an operator of my own, you know, the digital marketing agency, my site development company, you know, hiring culture. Carlos, I'm going to talk to you about this a little bit too. Listen, we know that there's money saving across the board here. You're not missing line items, but I want to go back to the human element, right? Most people probably are living in this chaos that are running a restoration business or any home service business for that matter. They're living in this chaos. And a big thing, you get every one of these self-help books about running businesses, everything is make sure you have the right butts in the right seats. Now when you have a tool that can eliminate the human element, eliminate hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of going back and forth, comparing estimates, all these things that you guys mentioned. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but again, people are still going to be apprehensive about any type of software, let alone AI in general, because we're being bombarded with it everywhere we go, right? I mean, it's in front of the Congress. I mean, it's on the news. I mean, it's every social media post you're seeing right now is this and this and this, and it's the big bad wolf in some cases. But, you know, talk to me a little bit about beyond that, like to talk to the guys that are out there might be apprehensive about incorporating this stuff. And I'm saying this, and the reason I'm pausing is because I'm like, man, this is just a no-brainer. When I can have something that is going to eliminate human error, it's going to make me more money, and it can do it with a click of a button, and it's built by operators. What else is there to it? But again, you already know how it is, dude. There are guys that are still using Yellow Pages out there to advertise their business. There's guys that are still out there running around and knocking on doors. So talk to those people a little bit about your system. And I do want to kind of merge that, Carlos, into this hire for culture thing, because I believe that you can talk a little bit to how this can help you actually staff up and scale your company by eliminating the hair on fire stuff that's running around, and it creates a little bit better of a culture when everybody's just kind of, USA, we've got this part handled.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started Peer Restore, I had some experience with some other restoration companies and building, right? I was never an employee for a restoration company. I went right into ownership, right? So I learned everything the hard way. That's why I'm so good at business, is because I've done everything wrong, right? You name it, I did it wrong. I learned how to fix it, and I'm the type of person, I come from the oil field. And when you make mistakes out there, people die, right?
Yes,
I've had die out there. Well, when I came to this industry, I honestly thought it was easy, you know, compared to the oil field. But how I tried to build Pure Restore was truly a plug and play, right? Like I wanted each individual to know their position, right? Like experts, know it inside and out. But also I wanted other individuals to know their position as well. I tell my employees, train your replacement, not to fire that employee, but in order to move you up, you have to train your replacement. There's no way you can move up until you train the person that's below you. Yeah. So in my company, really, I don't have one employee that can really hold us ransom. And as owners, I'm sure people can relate. You have some employees that you just can't fire because they have a book of business, or they're the only ones that know how to estimate that well, or, you know, the entire team loves them, and if they leave, you lose half your team. So when I started Pure Restore, I really tried to have a hub and then plug individuals in, right? And that's what Justified allows you to do. Going back to hire for culture, I knew this girl, Mallory, and she was a general manager of Walgreens. Amazing person. I've known her for 20 years probably. I always wanted to bring her in, but the issue is she knew QuickBooks and stuff like that. She was really computer savvy, but she didn't know restoration. And when I'm running 65 jobs a month, I don't have the time, and neither does my general manager, to train that person. I mean, we're going to fall behind on collecting and everything. So until I created Justified, I was not able to hire her. And I have hired her since, and you should see her emails. I mean, she's truly an expert, right? And as she's using the system, she's learning restoration. Now she doesn't even need the system to answer what a category 3 is or what a DHU is or AFD. She can speak, right? Like she's an expert, and she can hold a conversation with an adjuster, even without Justified now. But Justified taught her that. So really, you no longer need to hire somebody at $85,000 a year to be an office manager that has 7 years experience in restoration. You simply just put them in the seat. If they are charismatic, right, and they have integrity and they can work a computer, they can use Justified.
Yeah, that's killer. Think about what you could do with another $85,000 a year. Well, 35, I guess you got to pay them something to be there. I mean, it's not that great of a software where they want to do it for free for you, right? Maybe one day.
Hey, but check this out. So, like I said, we were running 65 jobs a day, and I had 3 six-figure salary employees doing collecting, right? Just answering questions all day long. We now have that down, all the way down. We collect faster and more in 27 hours a week. Unfortunately, we had to lay off one of those positions because literally she had nothing to do.
Yeah.
She was doing nothing. And I found myself giving her busy work, like, hey, go buy some donuts for the team, or hey, let's plan this party. And really, paying somebody 6 figures to do that kind of thing. It was like, unfortunately, I didn't need that person.
Wait, what kind of donuts were they, though? I mean, we're talking, what kind of parties are we talking
voodoo.
about here?
We have voodoo out here.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, it not only does it help with profitability, man, but it helps with time. And I didn't know what I had in the beginning. I built this just for Peer Restore, and I had no idea what I had until my CPA. I mean, we meet quarterly and we go over numbers. Well, it was the third quarter of 2025, and she said, Carlos, you need to do something with all this profit that you're making, right? Yeah. And she's like, what are you doing different? And in my head, I'm like, well, it's not like we were making a lot more gross revenue. We were making less than $1 million more than 2024. But what had happened was in 2024, we made 11% net. In 2025, we were on track to make over 35% net, right? And in my head, I'm like, we're really not doing anything different. We have all the same staff. We hired a couple more employees. Yeah, we're doing a little bit more in gross revenue. But what has changed, right? And then it dawned on me like, oh, we're using AI, we're using Justified, and this is really helping. It minimized an entire, 3-person position down to 27 hours, and we're collecting more. And people won't believe me when I say this because I've posted this on, some Facebook pages, and some people will attack me and say, hey, you're doing stuff wrong or you're doing stuff shady.
Yep.
I am a by the book person, right? There's no amount of money worth making to me where I'm just going to lose it in the end.
Yeah.
I'd rather not make it, right? I am a straight shooter by the book. I don't break the law. I don't do fraud, none of that. But my average water loss is almost $17,000. And this is not contents. This does not include contents, recon, mold, nothing. This is strictly water, right? And Justified really helps us capture everything that we can bill for. I'm not telling restorers to bill for things that they didn't do. But what I'm saying is, just make sure that you're billing for everything that your team actually did.
Yeah.
Right. So our average water loss is almost $17,000. We went from 11% net in 24 to over 35% in 25. Right. Yeah. Now I can hire for culture. We have a good
hire
culture.
That party planner, dude.
Yeah. And here's what's really unique about my company too, Peer Restore, is out of the 25, 30 employees that we have, there's only one individual in my entire company that has previous restoration experience. And she comes from ServPro. She's one of my estimators.
Wow.
Everybody within my company, from the general manager, Gabriel, he comes from accounting. Mallory, she comes from Walgreens. You've got Max, he comes from marketing with plumbing companies, right? Even my operations manager, he comes from the plumbing side as well. Everybody I brought in because I liked who they were, and I trained them myself, and it really worked for my company. I have nobody that has, baggage or anybody that I have to retrain. I train him how I want, and it's really worked for my company.
Yeah. And listen, I appreciate all that. And two, there's a few things that you touched on that I want to relate to everybody out there. One is the hiring side. I'm a huge proponent of hiring the person. And I'm very confident in my ability to train them because I'm very confident in my ability to do every single job because that's how I came up. Being dirt floor poor, having to get into the trades, lay pipe. I mean, I did it all. And I started my career off working for my dad, who treated me like, I was the least paid guy, the worst, the most one I got yelled at the most. And I went through the ringer and learned every single job there. So similarly here with our construction company, I'm hiring people that I think will fit who I would imagine I would want in that role down the road. And we kind of fill the gap in before. And I wish there was some sort of software for us in our industry. Maybe after this conversation, you guys can, get something like that going. But I want to talk to Max since he's been talking so much here. It was hard for all of us to get a word. I had to mute him a couple of times because he kept chiming in. Max, from a marketing perspective, talk to me a little bit about scalability and a lead flow and what that does to you from that end, because, a lot of stuff we talk about on the podcast is marketing related. That's my background, marketing for home services, whether it's SEO, running LSA and stuff like that. I want to talk about how this software is going to, if there's any kind of correlation between the two and how you guys can actually scale from, people listening to this can be, 2-man, 3-man operation up to, bigger franchises.
Yeah, I think, well, I'll touch on a couple things, both on the marketing and recruiting side, because I did do a lot of recruiting at Pure as well. But one thing is it gives you a lot of breathing room, right? Because you saw how much more net revenue we were making, but we didn't have to increase the workload accordingly, right? We got to do everything in a much more controlled way where we were just making more money from the jobs we already had. Yeah. And I think a lot of people get stuck in the trap of, I need to spend more on lead gen. I need more leads. I just need more work. And it's like, but you're leaving so much on the table, as we say, with every job, whether it's a few hundred here, a couple thousand there. At the end of the year, you could be talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're a big enough company, maybe in the millions, right? Yeah. So there's that component of it. And there's a consistency of it, right? Okay, so you've already got your fixed amount of jobs, let's say, for the year. And not only do you want to collect the most from it, but like you just want to be really consistent with your collections. That way you can have a process. And if you ever get pushback from a carrier, you can refer to another moment and be like, well, we got this paid here. So what's the issue type of thing, right? So that's just on the maximizing the current leads you have without having to add a whole new department, without having to add 5, like I said, we maybe added 1 or 2 crew members during that time. We didn't add a whole new department or like an entire new crew or anything like that. We were just making a lot more with what was already presented to us as far as that kind of marketing inventory, right? And because I used to work a lot on the market or on the recruiting side as well, because once the phone's ringing enough, the next problem is, hey, do I have the talent and the people to take care of all these, all these customers coming in? And, it's very unreasonable. Like, okay, Ben, you know how many line items are on Xactimate?
Not a clue.
There are over 26,000 line items. I don't know a single one of them, thank goodness, because that's just insane. But I don't think anyone should have to remember that. And I don't think that, like, the future, we already saw this with computers really with the first kind of cyber revolution, maybe 50, 60 years ago, where you're not being hired for your memory storage anymore. That's just isn't going to be the way you get compensated in the future. But that opens up a huge opportunity to hiring for people with heart and with problem solving abilities, right? Because, I've worked with a lot of amazing people in this industry, but it's a very niche industry without a huge pool of labor available. So as you start to scale up and need more and more specialized people, you're like, there's not just people falling out of the sky with talent, right? And so it just makes it a lot easier when you can hire someone like a Mallory, who you're like, okay, you've solved problems elsewhere. We love how you approach customer service and talk with people. We just need to give you this brain, basically, right? And the brain's now this transferable thing where it's like that memory storage goes anywhere. If that employee leaves, you still have the brain, right? And this is really good for like non-technical founders of restoration companies who don't know that more production side of it and maybe don't have certain safety nets to be like, I think my estimator missed something or something along those lines, right? I mean, this is just a huge safety net as well as being a time saver. And in addition, the big cherry on top being that it vastly opens up your hiring options.
Yeah, Max, you touched on a couple of really important points too. And, being the, marketing background that I have here, that's a huge point that you made with the conversions. A lot of times it's, you guys get somebody like, we got 100 visits to the website and you're converting 2%, right? And they're like, well, we need more traffic. I'm like, well, dude, your conversion rate is your conversion rate. The answer is not more traffic. It's more predictable. You want to increase that conversion because you're leaving 98 people that didn't pick up the phone, call you there. So I think it's important for anybody listening to this. If you find yourself in that mode, and I know what it's like when you're living in the crisis mode and you're spinning 300 plates for your business, and you've got an agency running you're running the show for you, or you're even your onboarding process where you're not converting jobs that are even calling you right now. You need to work on converting that. So this software seems like it helps close that gap a little bit too, which is why I thought that was a pretty interesting point. The other thing is the recruiting side of it. I know from what Carlos said with the culture, the culture changing, I know it's been a huge issue. And we deal with it with the construction companies hiring people, right? The workforce, the skilled trades are dying out. It's harder and harder to find people that are going to come to your company and fit that culture. So I think it's really cool how, just this tweak, and we'll call Justified we'll just call it a small tweak, whatever it's not, but just something like that can save so much time and resources for your business, kind of mitigates that hiring issues that everybody's having right now, in every trade right now, actually, to be honest with you, even on the marketing agency side of myself, we're seeing it too. So I thought that was really cool.
And not to be cheesy, but I think people are just going to go home less stressed because no one human realistically should have to manage 26,000 line items of anything. I mean, it's just an unrealistic thing to ask of a person. So the stress you go home with like, all right, I sent that email off today. I hope it was good. Nope. I got home at 5 p.m. and they have like a laundry list of things that I was really hoping not to have to respond to. So, it's just exciting to have this because like you're saying, it's kind of like an overlay on your business. It utilizes what you already have, your field tech software, your CRM. You don't really have to change anything. That was really important to us because we know a lot of people have preferences when it comes to field tech or their how they manage all their customer and project info and stuff like that. So, we kept our system as open as possible, and there are some exciting things we're working on in the future with that. But we just think it's really easy to jump into as well. Like, someone like Mallory shouldn't have to spend 2 weeks learning how to use Justified. I mean, it probably would be like a 3 to 5 day thing at most. And I mean, we're talking people who have never seen a line item before. So,
Yeah, we deal with guys that don't email, and they're like, I don't email. I'm like, wait, what? You're running a business in 2026 and you don't do the email. I hear, or what's the internet?
The ease of use of the system is a barrier reducer that we've got too, right? It's not very hard to use. If you know how to type and click, then you can type and click in Justified, and the results that you'll get will physically move the needle for your company. That's literally the bottom line of it all. You know what I mean? It's really simple to use. It makes it so that if you are a restorer and you've got years and years of tenured experience, you will also appreciate this because just like the rest of us, you've written the same email 500 times about the same sentences with the same questions to different carriers over the years, and you're going to enjoy never ever having to do that again. And you can teach Justified with your own inputs, your own documentation on how you'd like it to do. You can have your own master documentation inputs into the system. So if there's a way that you'd like it to work that is different or whatever than it does for you currently, you can input your own documents and train the system to be more customized for how you'd like it to be output. There's so many different options that we've given for the restorer that it's a true bolt on to no matter what you use, no matter what your tech stack, your current cocktail is, then it's all right here. And then we've also been able to, the hiring for culture thing that they've been able to do at Pure Restore is great. We at Rare, we've had the same kind of a team here forever. Now I'm just arming these guys basically. The same people that I've always had are just more powerful now because they've got more technology with them. But the best point about the hiring for culture thing is that for years now at all these conventions that we go to, they've been telling us, well, there's a labor shortage, there's a this, there's a that. What if we weren't looking in just one pool anymore?
That's right.
If we now search every the labor pool instead of the restoration labor pool or the skilled trades labor pool? What if we could search the entire labor pool? There goes our labor shortage out the window. Right. And then at Access, I spoke on a trial by fire hires, right? It was a tongue twister to say there too. Trial by fire hires. Okay, I had to say it like 5 times in my little speech I gave at Access.
Did you do it 5 times fast though, or did you just do it like
it
over?
was so hard. I even had to write it on my iPad and have like the iPad sitting over here so that I wouldn't never like forget it. You know what I mean? But trial by fire hires. This was their question. But think of that though. How many people in this industry get hired and then thrown into the wolves, just like, hey man, go and do, like, it's busy here. We're busy today. I need you to go with Phil and go over here and do the stuff with Phil. Phil's going to teach you everything you need to know. Yeah. What if Phil's having an off day that day, man?
Yep.
You know what I mean? What if there was a system in the new guy's pocket that he could pull out and say, hey, how do I do this? And it could tell him. We have that. It's one of the features inside of Justified. There's so many different features that make this thing positive for the restorer that it's impossible to ignore. You know what I mean? We're very happy to be presenting this as a live software that's actually out there that you can actually try out right now and watch and see. And if you don't see the progress, then, you know, let us know. We're open. We want to see, like, if you don't think that this thing moves the needle for restoration, we want to know, because the hundreds of other people that we've got working with it and trying it out and working through Justified right now are finding different results. So if we can find the one restoration company that doesn't benefit from Justified, we can probably help them too. We just have to figure out what the differences are, you know. No matter what, I think that the most common thing that we're seeing among people that are finding out about Justified is that the excitement that a system like this even exists. That it's a real thing, that it actually can help. And time has been the thing that has been probably the most stressful thing about restoration for a millennia. I don't come from just owning companies. I've worked my way up from the truck in this industry, right? I did a lot of large loss stuff with under the Orange House, and a lot of, you know, you guys all know my history. There's that trial by fire thing is real. That's how I came into this industry. Was I got hired, I got thrown into a truck, and then figured out that I was pretty good at that, figured out I was pretty good at sales, figured out I was pretty good at large loss management. You know, next thing I know, you know, here we are. So the point is that every level of this industry, there's something that Justified can do. From the language model, for technicians, all the way up for your estimates and final review, your comparisons for your collections people. There's no stoppage of what Justified can do for your company. You just have to task it.
Yeah, I think, and I want to talk about the trial by fire hire. It's a dangerous thing, and I feel attacked because we do it all the time in my industry, dude. Things are moving fast. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that resonates with, and think about how much good talent you let go out the door because they're not properly set up for success in your business right now. Think about how many techs you brought on and just threw them out there with a grouchy old Joe and let grouchy old Joe is like, who's this guy coming to take my job? Like, I'm not teaching you nothing. Go get me some lunch. I mean, listen, we do it. It happens in my site development company, you know, especially when we're doing the hire for culture kind of thing, you know, and they're like, hey man, just get out there and make it happen. You know, and you kind of do it and you get caught as an owner, you're caught in a day-to-day, you're caught in dealing with all these things and, you know, trying to implement these systems. So I always look at the talent that you lost coming out the door. And I love what you said, Doug, about being able to pull from every bit of labor pool, and even beyond laborers. I mean, just your pool is completely unlimited to who you can bring in based off of the stuff that causes. I would never have thought in a million years that somebody could walk in from a Walgreens and just jump into a job as a general manager of any type of home services business with all the nuance that exists. And I will say something to Max, though. I would go out on a limb and say Doug probably knows like 25,000 of the 26,000 exact estimates off the top of his head. We're going to drill him on the next episode. We're going to call him out. We're going to have people call in, and we're going to drill him on every one of those because I'm pretty sure he knows it.
It's got to be pretty close. I keep track on price list changes too. I'm usually pretty good with those too.
Yeah, we can't afford it, Doug, at Pure.
No, and you know what, dude? That's what I think would make this, you know, just without knowing a whole lot about Justified just yet, is just that's what makes us the output's only as good as the input, right? When you got experts like you guys working on something like this, you guys are not software guys that jumped into restoration. You're restoration guys that got into something and filled a gap and solved a problem with this. That's why, again, I was super excited to get you guys on here and talk about this. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future. But let's be honest. There's still going to be skeptics out there. Carlos, you know, from good old Facebook, man, if you ever want to get into an argument with somebody, just go talk about what color the sky is. I'm sure you've heard everything, but what do you say to the guys out there that are would not trust a system like this with their claims. That's a big deal, getting paid. And, they're already, I'm a micromanager, dude. I'm going to be looking at everything like that. What do you say to the people that might have a hard time trusting something like this?
I would say come check out my operation. I mean, I've always played nice with my competitors, even in my area, man. Like, I have competitors that will call me and say, "Hey, can I rent a DHU?" And I say, "Nope, but here's my shop door code. Go pick it up, bring it back clean." Right? I have a guy from Arizona. He'll be out here this week. I got another guy from a different part of the country that's flying out, checking out my operation. I'm an open book. There's no secrets, right? Like, I can show you how it's worked for my company. And if you want to test it, send me a claims packet. We'll drop it in the system. We'll see what you're leaving on the table, right? I also want to mention one last thing, because you talked about, getting revenue in the door, right? Keeping the doors open. One thing that our system does on the email feature is going to be, it always will ask to collect the undisputed amount, right?
Oh, wow.
Insurance carriers, it's already trained to do that. Anytime that an adjuster says, "Hey, you invoiced 25,000, we'll give you 16. My system is automatically trained to say, "Okay, release the undisputed amount. We'll figure out the rest." That way you can make payroll. Yep. And you can keep your doors open, right? Yeah. That's been a process in my company that we integrated within Justified. Also, it has auto tone. So
auto tune.
Auto tone.
I know, I'm just kidding.
yeah, auto tone. So how it works is it has 6 different tones. And what we found was, with these adjusters, oftentimes they're not too nice, but sometimes you'll get a nice adjuster and we want to keep them nice, right? And we found that in the early days of Justified, we would respond very analytical and just straight to the point. You kind of knew it was AI, right? Well, now the system, you cannot tell that it's AI. It has 6 different tones. So it matches energy of the email coming in. If the adjuster's nice, it will continue to send nice emails that you don't even know that are AI. If the adjuster is like really firm, right, then it'll go down to very direct, hey, no, to the point, right? It'll just match their energy. And we have found that, it helps us collect faster that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, so let's talk about money, right? As we get to the end of this here. So if someone's listening to this and thinking about the last claim, or maybe all of their claims where they got underpaid, what's the first step they should take?
Check out justified.com, man. JSTFYD.com. That's where you're going to get the first introduction to seeing how this thing works. Obviously, you're more than welcome to reach out to Max, Carlos, or I individually. We'll have our emails up on the video, and we'll get them out through the descriptions. But we're all open books. Carlos is not lying one bit. The first time I walked into his shop was the first time I ever met him, and he was completely open about how they do everything. And for the restorers out there, guys, you've never seen cleaner shovels in your life. I swear to you, you have never ever seen cleaner shovels in your life than you will see at Pure Restore. They do not exist. You find me a cleaner shovel, I got $10,000 cash money for you. You bring me a cleaner shovel than the ones they got at Pure Restore. There's just a separation. The difference here is that we're offering a product for companies who want to move in the direction that the claims environment is forcing us to. As a restoration industry, we like to march around independent and bang our feet and bang our fists, but ultimately we do play a much larger game. Okay, Justified helps you be in that game in the fast lane instead of trying to bang your head against the wall and tear your hair out arguing with adjusters and going home emotionally connected to a firm adjuster that was just beating you up over an estimate, and then you taking that whole stress home. Like, it's so much better. It's the tertiary effects are worth the price of admission, but the real benefits are we're saving you time and we're making you a ton more money. This is a very simple system to use. You do not have to be a doctor. You don't have to have any previous technology use experience. Carlos's general manager comes from accounting. You would be hard pressed to tell that from the way that the gentleman carries himself and operates at Pure Restore. You wouldn't know that he has not been in the game for 30 years, period. And it's just because of the systems that they've been taught, the way that they've been able to do things, and Carlos's ability to hire for culture instead of, much like me and a lot of other restoration companies out here, we have to hire restorers. I'm blessed that a lot of restorers wanted to work with me and still, consistently do. But at the end of the day, he's not wrong. That is an expensive staff. That's a very expensive staff that I've got here for myself. But where our growth model has been able to, where we've seen the growth with Justified, is that now my super talented, well-armed, my super talented people are well-armed. Now they're better equipped for the fight. We can do more of the fighting in a day. We can handle more issues in an hour. That's where it's coming into benefit for us. No matter how you do restoration, whether you have a more holistic approach or a more traditional approach, Justified can help, period. It saves time. It makes money. You want to find out how? Get in contact with any of us. Reach out to justified.com and book your demo. We're here, man. We're real people, real restoration guys, and we want to hear how you're going to use Justified in your company. That's what motivates us, is the positivity that we're getting in feedback from all over the country. Man, Justified found $11,000 on the table in this last comparative I had. Man, I didn't even know it was there. They had a whole room in there that I didn't even have on our estimate. There's so many things that Justified is helping with already currently. And there's a lot of restorers that are still behind the curve of technology. And we've talked about this before, Ben. That curve is dangerous. That's the most dangerous curve, I think, that we've had coming up in the last 10, 15 years in this industry. And being behind on it is not going to benefit you as a company owner or anyone that works in your company. It's going to get harder out there to run. The same amount of claims that you're running before is going to take way more brain power than it used to. And it already is.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. If you haven't decided already to go check out justified.com, I implore you to. I know Doug, and those of you that know Doug out there, just getting to know Carlos and Max, those of you know that Doug's out there, he's always giving it away. He's been screaming from the top of the Colorado mountains for years and years about what's coming, when it's coming. He was a little off on his timeline in a bad way, because what he thought was coming in a couple of years came in a couple of months. And we spoke about that in the last episode. But man, it seems like Justified is finally giving restorers a weapon to fight back against these things. And if the money and time saving opportunities don't talk you into just going to check out their website and seeing what it can do for you, think about the tertiary downfall, the other things that it could do here with your time, your stress going home to your family, kind of figuring out why you do what you do. I mean, we can go on and on and on forever about how much saving money, saving time in your business. And again, to Carlos's point, those systems built into place, have the clean shovels, have the guys knowing exactly where they want to be, where they have to go, and what to expect. Having predictability in your business is huge for being able to hire, for being able to scale, to know where that check's coming from and not have to be chewing your fingernails off waiting for some sort of check to come in, to waiting on payroll. Guys, I really appreciate all the time you spent here today talking to me, Doug. As always, man, it's always awesome to see you. Are you going to be in Vegas at the experience this year?
I think I am going to make the run out there, actually.
Right. They got me and some of the team speaking out there for a few days, so I'll be there. I'm looking forward to running into you. How about you guys? Carlos, Max?
Yeah, we'll be there. Yeah,
awesome.
We'll be there. We won't have a booth or anything, but we'll be there.
Yeah, neither will. We're just going to talk shop, talk some marketing. So I'm looking forward to getting with you guys there.
The boys got some good stuff to speak on this year, so I wanted to make sure I made the run out there.
Now you got the pressure on, man. But they only gave me 30 minutes, so I'm going to be talking like the old Micro Machines commercials for a while. Be like a shot of espresso, some Cuban coffee from South Florida for everybody to wake up a little bit in the morning in Vegas. Guys, I appreciate the time today. The juice was definitely worth the squeeze. The cliffhanger from the last episode, Doug. I'm super excited for you guys for what you're bringing to the table. It is nice to see when guys that are actually mean well, that want to help push the industry forward, come together and put some things together to battle the big dragon that's out there, to keeping everybody from getting paid. So if there's anything to take away from this episode, it's that the money you're owed doesn't come back in on its own, right? You need to have a system built to go and get it. So if you want to see Justified in action, head to justified.com, but it's spelled JSTFYD.com. I will have this link in the show notes. And any way to get a hold of Doug and Carlos and Max and their team, just check out the show notes, watch this episode, go back and check out the other one with Doug so you can get scared a little bit and realize why he's doing what he's doing. That's it for today, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys coming on. We'll talk to you guys next time.
We appreciate it.
If today's episode helped you, then subscribe and send it to another contractor who needs to hear it. And if your digital marketing isn't producing at the level it should, then let's fix it. At Ironclad Restoration Marketing, we build and manage restoration-specific websites, SEO strategies, Google Ads and LSA campaigns, and Google business profiles, all engineered to drive book jobs, not just vanity metrics. Schedule a strategy session in the show notes, and let's tighten up your growth plan. We'll see you on the next episode.